Hi everyone. Um, I've been wanting to get into this making YouTube videos thing for a while, and I thought, what better way to start it than with my favorite musician, um, and the fact that I'm going to go see him in concert in October. That would be Hozier. He's just announced his North American tour. Not only did he announce tour dates, he also did an interview where he promised the new music was on its way and that the new album was just around the corner, which since his last album was in 2014, this is pretty exciting for all Hozier fans. Everyone was just like, he's been kidnapped by fairies and now he's back. I want to talk about the lyrics to the new song that he teased in an NPR interview. The song was called Wasteland, Baby, and it's about like two people who are in love at the end of the world. And he said that a lot of the album was inspired by the current political climate. He said that a lot of songs on the album were like warm and loving, but still coming out of kind of a desperate place of like the world is going to shit. That's not the way he said it. He was much more poetic. But that's the general vibe. And I always loved those kind of songs because I think they're about like finding optimism in, horrible situations, sort of apocalypse love songs. And that's something that's really appealing to me. Wasteland, Baby, it begins with something to the effect of, and I don't have the lyrics with me, all the fear and fire at the end of the world happens every time a boy falls in love with a girl. And he's kind of like sort of talked about this idea of love as kind of destructive and as a kind of death before. There's an interview, I guess I'll link it in the description. It was like an old one from 2014, like really early on, where he said that like falling in love was a kind of death, that like he saw sort of that you see everything you are just sort of disappear because it just challenges your perceptions. So he's already sort of worked with this idea of like love being kind of a destruction of what you knew about yourself and kind of a destruction of also societal norms, because he's definitely talked about the fact that love and sexuality are often dictated by these societal norms, as we can see with Take Me to Church, where the song is about sort of embracing sexuality in spite of a sort of very don't have sex attitude on the part of the church. That's where some of the social consciousness comes in with those themes of the apocalypse love song. Is sort of the idea that like the destruction of society's norms can enable you to fall in love. My guess is that this sort of theme, the fact this theme of society isn't really conducive to love, running through his music, I think that might be why he has such a large queer fan base and why he's felt the need to become such an ally. Take Me to Church is about like just sort of the anti-sex attitude of the Catholic Church, as an institution, but this video was about brutality against gay people in Russia. So it was sort of about how institutions mandate things that stop people from expressing their sexuality and being genuinely in love, whether that's just in general having an policy against just sort of that sex is only for procreation or whatever, or whether it's because they believe your sexuality, like your attraction, is also sinful. I'm kind of seeing that theme in Wasteland, Baby. There's a sort of freedom to this destruction. It happens, I think the phrase is, happens grace, happens sweet, because they're now able to be free of societal norms. I saw some smatterings of backlash to these lyrics, from a queer perspective, in a sense, because he says like when a boy meets a girl, which is kind of like a phrase that just sort of jumps out at you if you're kind of looking for heteronormativity or like on guard for it. But I think there's kind of something interesting if you really do apply that to this idea that that falling in love could be a destruction of social norms. It could mean that trying to genuinely love and respect a woman means that you violate social norms. Foreigner's God is an underrated song by him, where he basically talks about internalized misogyny on his part, or on the part of the speaker of the song. Basically, he's in love with this woman, but she doesn't really feel safe around him, And he explains that it's because his heart is heavy with the hate of some other man's beliefs. So he's been sort of taught to hate. So he's trying to love her genuinely, but he really can't in the way that the culture is teaching him. You know, that he says, all that I've been taught and every word I've got is foreign to me. So there really just is no he's just sort of talking about how there's no model for like men to be actually genuinely nice to women in society. I mean, there are, you know, that is possible, but there's a lot of societal norms about men having to dominate or pursue women or you know, otherwise disrespect them. And, you know, and that's, the song is sort of about like struggling with, you know, being kind of an outsider in your own culture because you're not feeling comfortable with that, but you can't really escape it either. So in a sense, all that destruction, that fear and fire at the end of the world, you know, it comes from the fact that if a man truly tries to love in the very like even more of a like broader sense of like real like understanding and compassion, if a man really tries to love a woman, he's going to have to undo a lot of societal norms. He's going to have to learn how to be a different person than what society thinks men should be. Harming women is sort of part of that. I think Wasteland Baby looks like it's kind of a continuation of a lot of the themes he's already covered in his songs. You know, this sort of apocalypse love song, this idea that he's expressed earlier of love as kind of a destruction of your preconceptions and of social norms. So I'm really excited to see what else he has in store. Because on one hand, I love that he's continuing this because it's really something that I love about his work. But in general, there's a lot of things that I've already recognized, and I hope that we also get to see new stuff because I know he's very talented, and he would have he has a lot of depth, and he doesn't have just one side as a musician and as an artist and as a person. I think that's all I've got for right now. But when the album comes out, I will try to do, or like the first single maybe even, do a video where I like talk about my feelings about that. So my analysis. I don't know how to end things. Bye.